I'm Max Daly. Some of you will be expecting some light family games or possibly a dog. Most of you will be thinking, who the hell is this guy? That doesn't matter right now. What matters is that we're going to be talking about Lords of Hellas. And it's really quite a thing. Let me explain. So, Lords of Hellas is played on this frankly spectacular board, and this is where victory lies. You have these areas of the board, these are called regions, and each of them have a different colour. If you control the regions of, all the regions of a colour, you control that land, and if you control two lands in a 4-player game, you win the game. And the way that you control it is by moving soldiers onto a region. So, in Crete, there are 2 soldiers required to control the region. You put your control marker on it, bang, you control it. Once this has been controlled, control can pass in a variety of ways and doesn't necessarily require that number of soldiers, but that's how you get started. The second way also involves control, but it also involves these temples. One of the things you can do is to build a temple on a region you control. If you control 5 regions with temples placed on them, you win the game. The third way of winning is to do with these amazing models. Essentially, if you hunt and kill 3 mythological beasts, then you win the game. The fourth way of winning, and final, is kind of a way of preventing stalemate. If you manage to build up one of these statues, this is the plinth of the statue, and I'll show you an image of the completed statue as well, then that starts a timer. And wherever the statue is, in this case Athena's up here, it starts a timer, and you have 3 turns till the end of the game. The person who is in control of where the statue is at the end of the game wins the game. That's not something that we've ever triggered, so I don't think we need to dwell on it. So this is your console. This is how you achieve these great things. You have your hero. Here I have Achilles, and they have a number of stats to start with. They have leadership, strength, and speed. Achilles starts on 2 speed. That's a special starting bonus he has. He also has a special ability to do with adding his stats to his combat strength from his hoplite army. There's a number of actions you can take every turn. You can move hoplites and equal to your leadership. So if you have a leadership of 3, you can move 3 hoplites from one region to another region. Each hoplite moves 1. You can move your hero equal to the speed. You can send one of these priests, if you have a priest in what I tend to call the priest hole, you can send them to one of the shrines, and this will give you a bonus, and the bonuses are explained here. So for example, if I take a priest and send him to pray to Zeus, Zeus will give me a bonus depending on how much the monument to Zeus has been built up. But initially that would be an increase in my strength. You can also use artifacts. During the course of the game you will get magical artifacts that you can use once. For every reset of the game, you can use your artifact once. And these are fairly powerful artifacts. Let's just say I've got here Feme's trumpet, whatever that is. And you can also have some special actions. You can then, once you've done all your regular actions, you can do one special action. I'm just going to quickly talk you through those. Prepare means you can heal an injury, which you might have sustained while fighting a monster, draw a combat card, and recruit one of your hoplites where you are. You can do 2 out of 3 of those. You can build a temple if you control a region where a temple can be built, as indicated by the little temple icon here. Then you can pop a temple on, and that gives you a priest from your store into your priest hole. If you end your turn in the same square as a as a monster, you can hunt them, and I'll explain how that works. That's a brilliant part of the game. If you control a city, you can recruit usually 2 hoplites into that city, but if you control the wonderful model of Sparta, then you can recruit 4. You can usurp. If you have done something awesome in one of the lands of this board, you get a little hero token you put on there, and that allows you to take over a region within that territory by just having your guy there. Don't have to have a battle or have a certain number of soldiers. Just this pure awesomeness of your hero allows you to take control of that region. That's very powerful at the end of the game. And this is a nice one. If you've built up some hoplites in a region, you can march all of your hoplites from that region to an adjacent region. Now, I've put these on here not just to show that I've talked about them, but because when you've done an action, you have to place a used action marker, and eventually you'll get to the point where you can't do any of these awesome things. And then, or possibly beforehand, you will do build monument, and that means you take one of the pieces, the next piece of this amazing monuments, and build it. You will also everyone removes their priest, they come back to the store, and you gain a priest for every temple that you own. Let's say I own one temple, he goes in the hole there. And you also, everyone removes their action tokens. A monster die is rolled, which the monsters will either attack or move and just sort of stir a little bit, and draw an event card, which would be either a monster or a quest. The final thing to just mention is, as time goes on, you get these little bonuses, these blessings from somebody placing a particular temple, and these are pretty cool and just generally add either to your hero or your army's strength. So far we have a competent dudes on the map game. But what is it that elevates this game from competent to worth making a video about? Well, there are probably three things. So the first thing is the combat system, which is run by these cards. Now the point about these cards is, firstly, they're not very easy to get, and secondly, you can only hold 4. So every decision to play one is important. And they can be used for two things. In open battle, let's say you've put 4 hoplites into someone else's territory and they've got 2. You start off with a 4-2 advantage, and you can play them and use the number to increase your combat strength, and also there may be some other powers. And finally, some of them have this little icon, which means that you yourself, win or lose, will lose one of your hoplites. And so it really is a kind of trade-off. So that's interesting, but it's not exciting in a way that going to fight and kill hydras is. So when you go in to attack one of these monsters, you will not know if you're going to succeed or not, and you will be worried, because each one of them has got a number of different points that you will have to damage in order to defeat it, and you won't have enough cards. But on the other hand, you do get to draw cards up to your strength. So let's say I've got 4 cards to start with and a strength of 3. I will draw these cards. And then what happens is that you play the cards to damage particular points. So this is a sword. So if you play a sword card, that will damage that. Here we have a club. So that one a club, and so on. So we've got a torch here. That one gets damaged there. And then we have a decision. I could carry on and damage a little bit more, but he is going to damage me back. So do I need to keep these for defense? Because once I've got wounded 3 times, I have to withdraw. And also, if I leave him almost killed, then someone else is going to come in and sweep him up. So let's say I stop there. He plays a quick attack, which means I have to play 5 points of defense. I play 5 points of defense. Look, I've only got 2 left, but because I played a successful defense, I get another 2. So this kind of constant decision making, constant balancing of risk is the best thing in the game. The second is this feeling of momentum. You start off a kind of slightly superhero human, but end up as this kind of demigod roaming the countryside with this massive army and lots of acolytes. So there's this just feeling that you are getting more awesome as time goes on. Even if you don't win, there's this feeling that things are going forward all the time, and it's just a question of who's going forward fastest. Yeah, you can have setbacks if you have combat and so forth, stuff doesn't come off for you, but still you have this feeling of momentum, which is played into by the fact that the turns for a very complex game are fairly short, so it goes round pretty quickly and you have lots of turns lots of options, lots of opportunities to make mistakes. And the third is the theme. I love the mythological Greek theme. I don't love the science fiction skin that's been laid on it. I think it's essentially just an art choice so that they can kind of do for fantasy tropes what 40k did for science fiction and kind of amp up the testosterone. I don't think that's necessary, but I have to admit it's a spectacular board which really is part of what sucks you in. You know, you're fighting Medusa. You really are fighting Medusa. It's a proper representation. And that's fantastic. But that's part of it. But the other part of it is not only does it visually draw you in, it draws you in with story, because it does really feel like you can make a story out of this. And it isn't that you have to follow the mythological story. So you can have Achilles, who really didn't do much monster slaughtering, going to sort of kill Medusa. But also there's stories which go on while that's happening. So while Achilles is off questing or killing Medusa, his armies will be routed in the Peloponnese, and various other things will be going on. So there is that real sense of being in a story and making your own story, which is very compelling. And this is a game when I got it out to review it this morning, I thought, I really want to play this. So, do I have reservations? Sure, I have reservations. Really, I have three main areas. One is the manual. The manual in many ways is a masterpiece of condensed language. It's, for a really complex game, it's 16 pages long, and the paragraphs are almost read like computer code. They're so concise. The difficulty with that sometimes is that it doesn't cover many of the interactions that can happen in this game, and you are left scratching your head at times. So that's one thing. The second thing, which I think is a bit more serious, is that it's very sensitive to player count. At 2 players, it's a tense duel. You both have to do all of the different things to kind of cover your bases and to make sure the other guy doesn't sneak in. And you both can, because there's enough game space. And at 4 players, it feels epic. There's lots going on. There's always something to think about. Everyone else's turn is also interesting, and often you're also involved. So it is fantastic. I don't like it at 3 players. The reason is this. Okay, there are 4 ways to win, but broadly you're talking about area control and fighting monsters. If you've got 3 players, by definition, 2 people will broadly follow one path and one person will follow the other path. And the person that follows the path alone is going to win most of the time. And that in itself just takes a lot of the fun away. It becomes not about what you want to do, but what the other people are doing, and try not to be the person. It just isn't as fun. The solo player game I want to briefly mention, the internet has broken it. There is a way of very quickly winning in 3 turns, but the internet has also been kind and has kind of offered rule tweaks which make it unbroken. But even when you tweak the rules, it feels a little bit undercooked. Sometimes it can just squash you kind of out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, okay. And maybe some people like that feeling that you're constantly about to die. It certainly feels very different to the multiplayer game, rather than feeling like a kind of building momentum and being increasingly awesome. In a single player game, you feel like an ant scuttling around under the Persian boot. So that is an achievement to make that very different. And there are lots of innovations in the solo game, which I'm not going to go into because, frankly, I don't necessarily recommend that you buy it for the solo game. Have a go at it if you've got it, if you're going to get it anyway. We actually had quite a good time playing it as a kind of rigged up 2-player cooperative. But it is not a selling point, unfortunately, because a lot of work has obviously gone into it. The third thing is gender representation. Now, before you start commenting, I know that this is an area that excites a lot of opinions. So I'm just going to offer a few facts. The first fact is about exposed midriffs. If you look at the male characters versus the female characters in this game, you get this graph. 100% of female characters have an exposed midriff, 0% of male characters. Now, I'm not telling you what the right figures are there, but that might give you some pause. You might also say, well, that's just the classical way, that's just how it was. Well, it wasn't. If you look down here, you have representations of this game's statue of Athena and Hermes. And if you look up here, you've got the classical representations, most famous, of Athena and Hermes. And you can see, in fact, it's the other way around. And the third fact I want to give you is that this stuff puts people off. This copy of the game was not sent to me. It was sent to No Pun Included. And Efka from No Pun Included looked at this game, looked at the art, looked at the representation and thought, it's not for me. And so Awaken Realms, instead of getting one of Efka and Elaine's brilliant, fantastically put together, original and funny videos, you got me gassing on in my dining room. Those are my facts. You can make of them what you will, but I think that this game would be more successful, more accessible, if some of the art choices had been different. And I think that's something that perhaps is a valid bit of feedback for the publishers who have made an excellent game that not everyone will want to play. And that seems to me to be a shame. I love this game. I wish there were some different things that are different about it, but it's a wonderful, wonderful evocation of mythological combat, of the myths that I've grown up with, and I'm delighted to have it in my house. Because of the reservations I have, I can only give it a 7, but if you're looking for a Dudes on the Map game that plays fast, has that sense of momentum, theme drips from it, from every pore, then I think you should definitely give it a try. I'm Max Davey. Thank you very much for listening.